Have you ever thanked God for surviving, but still felt tired of just surviving? Have you ever realized that what you escaped is still shaping how you live? Have you ever noticed that people celebrate your strength, but God is inviting you into rest? Have you ever wondered if healing was meant to take you further than coping? Hey, dear Tyla, it's nice to have you back. Happy Thursday. Yes, we've gone 3 weeks into the month, into the new year. It's kind of confusing, to be fair, because we just started like a Thursday. It's a very confusing thing, but it's 3 weeks, and I'm glad that you're good. And I actually believe first that you're good, and I'm also glad that you're good. And I hope that the previous episode really, really blessed you. I got quite a number of reviews from it, and I'm truly happy that what we are sharing is being of help to us. And today, what I just had in my heart to share had to do with survival. Right, it had to do basically with survival. If you noticed that during the last episode, I did make an emphasis on survival, and talking about how God did not design us to live in that kind of way. Understand? So today's topic is more than a survivor, right? And I really hope that this is going to, help us, for many of us that might have had traumatic experiences, that has kept us in a particular position for a while. I really do hope that this comes with a sense of comfort. It comes with a sense of hope for us, right? And yeah, I think I've done a lot of hands inside this particular recording, so pardon me for the so many conjunctions, right? So there's this subtle tension many believers live with, right? We all live with it, right? And I said and again. Okay, we live with this subtle tension. We're grateful, right? We're grateful for survival. We're grateful for seasons. We are grateful for life in general. We're grateful that we made it through. There are things that we typically went through and we thought that we were not going to, make it. I've had too many instances. There were moments where I would just be on my knees and I'll cry out to God. I'm like, God, if you don't come through for me, I'm going to die. Many times they were not even life-threatening issues, but because of the anguish in my heart, it almost felt like that I was going to die. Those moments I would, just pour out my heart to God, because there was absolutely no option. The truth is that I'm trying my best not to use the word "and," right? But let's keep at it. During those moments, I really felt like there was no other option. Everything just looked extremely, extremely gloomy and dark. But somewhere deep inside, something still whispers, there has to be more than this. There has to be more than this. There are many times that you come out through a particular season and you're grateful. So it's not an expression of ingratitude, right? I think that's the word, ingratitude. Or it's not the lack of gratitude, or it's not that you are ungrateful. No. So you're grateful that you survived certain moments, that you survived certain seasons, but deep within you, or deep within us, deep within our hearts, there's always this push that there is more. This is not the best that God has designed for me. This is not the best. I don't believe that this is where God actually wants me, to be. And the truth is, survival in itself is a miracle, right? It's a miracle that we survive whatever it is. But that's not the mission. That's not the goal. The point is not to get us to the point of just surviving. No, not at all. See, I wrote this down. I said, God did not rescue you just to leave you managing pain. God did not rescue you just to leave you managing pain. It's one thing to survive, right? But then there's something beyond it. There's really, really something beyond it. So God pulling you out of a season, coming through for you in a miraculous way, saving you through a moment in your life where there were no options and it just looked, absolutely dire. Right? That He didn't do that to leave you with the pain of whatever experience it was. He didn't pull you out just to keep you circling the memory of what almost destroyed you. Right? God did not pull you out just to keep you circling around the memory of it. You may not be in the situation, but your proximity to the memory can be as painful as still being in that same spot. Be as painful as being in that same spot. And for many of us, right, Tyler, for many of us, we're used to it. There are reasons why, but we're so used to it, and it makes us very, very comfortable and sometimes skeptical about change. There's something I think that I have made mention of many times in Dear Tyla, is that the familiar always seems comfortable, right? The familiar always seems comfortable because somehow your life, your mind, your person has adapted to whatever it gives, whether if it's pain, whether if it's a level of enjoyment or satisfaction. We always seem comfortable with the familiar, right? But beyond being saved from anything, God desires that we live above it. Beyond being saved, God desires that we live above it, right? Now, just a few things that I feel will be very, very important for us to note. Survival teaches us how to endure. That's the truth. Survival teaches us how to endure. But if you're not careful, it also teaches you who to be. That the seasons that you pass through begin to define your personality. It begins to define your character, right? And, I think it's a defense mechanism. It's just like a coping mechanism, right? Where the things that you experience, you'll be like, oh, this person did this to me, this person betrayed me, or I did not perform particularly well at a task, or whatever it is, right? Survival usually puts you on that defense mode, right? And it has a way of not just determining things that happen around you, but it also has a way of dictating, if you're not careful, dictating who you eventually become, right? Now, these things that I'm about to say, they're not necessarily wrong, right? But then survival teaches you to learn to be alert, right? To learn to be alert. It teaches you to expect the worst. It teaches you to guard up. It teaches you to stay ready, right? And yes, there is wisdom in all of this, right? But if this eventually becomes your identity, right, you would live in perpetual fear of the occurrence of certain things. And that's not living above it. That's managing a particular fear or managing a particular concern. Survivor can quietly become your identity. So it will get to a point where you'll stop saying, oh, this happened to me, and start living as though this is who I am. That's what survival really does. You totally forget the experience and then you take it up as your... It don't sound so much, but you take it up as your mandate. Do you understand? That's just how I am. And many times it comes from survival. I was talking to a friend recently, and we were talking about growing up as kids and children and how innocent we were, but then how over time we learned certain things because of what life brought to us. And I can give you an example. For instance, we learned tribalism from growing up. When we were kids, nobody really had any knowledge about, oh, okay, I'm Hausa, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm from the north, I'm from the south, I'm from the east, I'm from the west, I'm middle belt, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I believe in God, I don't believe in God, and all of those things. Everybody was able to play or relate on a very normal level. Number two, another thing that was learned was racism. Now, I remember how I learned racism. I learned racism while we were living in the Netherlands, and something happened that I was locked out of the house. My parents were not around, and the bus driver had dropped me at home, and I was knocking, I was crying, Nobody was there to, get me. And I just saw a whole lot of white folks, just looking at me and passing me by. And I didn't know, how. But for me, I just felt like, my mom and dad were not around and everything. Until one lady came with her son, she came pick me up and took me to the police station, bought me Sprite, and, all of those things. And then they eventually took me to my uncle's place where I was staying. And I also had a teacher, that always just used to pick on me, always used to pull my ears, it was just always a little bit harsh. At that point in time of my life, I couldn't really decipher quite a lot of things. But growing up, I got to understand that, that was an expression of racism and all. Now, I was able to relate with people clearly because of my childlike heart. But over time, this is me being honest, over time, I started to withdraw because I realized that, maybe because of my skin color, there was a way that people were always reacting to me. So I never wanted to be in the forefront because I felt like, because I'm African, maybe that's it. So what I'm saying is that because of survival, right, and because of taking survival up to a notch that is absolutely not good, it can become a personality. But scripture never calls you a survivor, right? It never calls us survivors. Scripture in Romans chapter 8 verse 37 says, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. More than conquerors, more than survivors. We are more than barely holding on. So what God saved us from was so that we can also live above it. Right? So I read this that says, salvation is not just extraction. Right? So it's not pulling you out of a situation, but then it's an elevation. Because if I pull you out of a situation and keep you at the proximity of that situation, there's a possibility that it's still going to come back and haunt you, right? So God did not bring us out so that we can build a home in recovery mode. He really wants us to thrive. At some point, the grace that rescued us also invites us to rise. The grace that rescued us also invites us to rise. So, in John chapter 10 verse 10 it says, I have come that they may have life. So that life is pulling us out of death. But then again, and have it more abundantly. So beyond just having or receiving life, right? Just life in itself. God adds another dosage and he gives us that life more abundantly. So we experience the life that rescues, but then we also experience a life that puts us way above whatever we came out from. And I think that that's a very consoling fact. Remember, the grace that rescued you is also inviting you to rise. The grace that, saved you is also the same grace that invites you to rise. Same grace. I know that I've repeated this for a while, but let's be honest, survival feels safe because it's familiar. Living above it requires a level of trust. In fact, it requires trust. Living above certain circumstances requires trust. It's difficult. It's difficult. It is. God's grace is available to help us through that season. But I would also be very honest that it's difficult. We love to live in a world of predictability, right? For some of us, we're not very spontaneous people. I can speak for myself. I am not particularly spontaneous. I like things a little bit planned. I don't do well with surprises because in a moment of surprise, I don't have anything to say or to do. And I can be, pretty handicapped in those moments. So a good surprise, yes. Those moments, I'll just be like really dumbfounded. I won't have anything to say. But in the circumstance of a bad surprise, I could really be, totally blank, and I don't like that. So sadly, there was a period of my life that I thought about as many bad scenarios as possible that could happen in my life and started trying to create contingencies for them. I don't think it's a good habit because you're perpetually living in negativity, And just like Job said, that the thing I feared the most has come upon me. And so even when things are not panning out in that way, your mind begins to navigate itself and create the roadmap that gets you to the point of experiencing those terrible moments, right? So living above anything requires a level of trust, trusting God to do His best and to show His best. Trusting that rest won't make you vulnerable. Rest in the sense that letting go of all of these other things and trusting God will not put you in a vulnerable moment, And also trusting God that the peace that you experience at that time will not be temporary. I wrote down here again, I said, some of us hold on to survival because pain feels predictable. It feels predictable. So let's take, for instance, there's this man of God that I love, Pastor Bill Johnson of Bethel Church. And he made a statement once, in their school of ministry. And one of the questions that they ask a lot is, what if I pray for the sick and they don't get healed? And his response is always, what if you pray for the sick and they do get healed? That it's really all about perspective. But because we've become used to disappointment, we know how disappointment feels. And the thought of things working out can sometimes be scary. Do you understand? So because we're unfamiliar with that, we tend to go back to, certain levels of pain. There's this very devilish adage that says, the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. It's not, that's like totally antichrist. Like, how can you say the devil you know? With everything that the devil represents, you're trying to say that it's better. But I think it's just a communication of how people feel so safe in pain because they are familiar with it. They know how it feels. They know what to do with it when it comes. Do you understand? And so they've built a camp around it, a camp of survival, all of that. But God never designed you to live braced for impact. I like that. I got that quote from someone. It says, God never designed you to live braced for impact. So you're not always, your life was not meant to be, there's a possibility of danger, or something like that. No. That there's meant to be a certain level of liberty that you experience. You're not always being overly cautious. This lady has the possibility of breaking my heart. Oh, men are scum. That's how all men are. Or, they're not going to accept me. I'm already used to not being accepted, Or, okay, we're so many people. These people are not going to choose me. Or, let me just prepare my heart, Why not prepare your heart to receive the good things of God? You see, that's what survival does. It reminds you of an experience and puts you in the mood to be able to cushion the effect of what you expect, right? And just to kind of put everything into perspective, I'm a storyteller, and I love stories. I love communicating through stories, and I believe that stories have a very, very strong effect on people. Maybe because people are able to relate with it well, right? Our growing survival does not dishonor your past. It does not dishonor your story, right? It just honors redemption. It honors the sacrifice that was made for you. It honors the gift that you have received. So, me asking us, or me asking you, to let go of these things is not me saying that they don't count. No. They form part of your story. They form part of your history, right? But that's not your future. I think there's a song that says, "Fear is not my future," and that's not your future. It should not dictate to you, or should not dictate things that are happening around you. So, maximize what God has done. It's very important that we maximize what God has done. Right? We maximize what God has done. So, yeah. So people also admire strong survivors. I'm just trying to tidy up quite a lot of things in my mind. So people admire strong survivors. But sometimes the strength people applaud is the same strength God is asking you to lay down. Because strength without healing eventually becomes isolation. So if you don't get to the point of being properly healed, your being strong also creates a certain barricade, and that barricade is a system of isolation. And we are not designed to be that way. We're not designed to be that way. I can speak for myself in a lot of ways. I'm not the social bug, right? But I do enjoy the company of people. But I've realized that a lot of things that happened in my life put me in a position where I started trying to be away from people, because I didn't want people to see my scars. I didn't want them to see my flaws. I didn't want them to know my story. I didn't want it to be that I became, how best will I put it? Working in an environment where people celebrate your success, or people celebrate your position, or people celebrate your access to certain privileges, right? I had built over time that fear of people being like, but he was here before. So I didn't want to look bad in people's eyes. I didn't want to look as if things were not working out. So whenever I found myself in a certain position where it would look embarrassing for the person in your caliber is going through all of this, right? What I do is just, isolate myself, stay away. I'll not communicate with people, and try to sort out things on my own. But then at the end of the day, I would still end up, messing up completely. So we have to be careful, like I said, that you don't get to the point where you've not healed from it, and then you're now trying to show strength. Some things you've just really got to lay down. Things you've really got to lay down. Just say, I messed up, or I didn't do well, or things didn't work out well for me. And Lord, I'm giving you that, but I'm not going to allow it to define me. Or I experienced the pain of heartbreak, I experienced the loss of a loved one, I experienced the pain of rejection at work, rejection from friends, and all of that. I'm not going to suck it up, at least not before God, and allow that pain to consistently put me in a position where I'm not able to relate and become a better version of myself, right? And I think that that's one of the major points of my thought pattern today, Tyla. It's okay to be strong. Like, we salute strength. But there's some times when you break those walls. You just break it. And the first person you always break those walls before has to be God. People are too unstable. People are too unstable. What kind of English is that? People are too unstable to be able to understand you. And so before you let your guard down for any man, make sure that you've let that guard down before God. Make sure you let it down before God. And that he gets you out of that cycle of pain. Whether you are the cause of it or whether you are just at the receiving end of it, there are things that you've got to let go of and rise to a higher light. Rise to a higher light. Rise to a higher light. You know. Living above, it doesn't mean pretending it never hurt. So you can remember that it hurts. In fact, the pain has a good way of keeping you on your toes, especially making sure that you do not become a reflection or a repetition of pain that was caused. So if somebody did something to you, and if you don't heal from it, the possibility of you doing it to somebody else is extremely high, you know, and sometimes payback feels good. So there's some few things here. It says, you respond instead of react. No, I learned that thing from Pastor Chris. Right? I learned that thing from Pastor Chris. And I think I'll just end with this because I'm taking a lot of time, but you respond instead of react. And he spoke about the reaction. And if you're a science student, you know that every action you get has its own corresponding equal and opposite reaction. Right? So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're moving and maybe you're moving fast and you hit yourself against the wall, what you feel on your body is the same impact that you gave to the wall. So that's what we call a reaction, right? But now a response is taking what was given to you and making the best out of it. So a response, for instance, is like, I think the sunflower, right? I don't know if it's a sunflower or not, but I think the sunflower does it, where when the sun rises, as the sun's rays hits on it, it now opens up. There's this other plant that I love, Queen of the Night. So in the daytime, once the sun rises, it closes up, and then it begins to secrete some form of things inside of it. And then once it's night, once the sun goes down, it now opens up, and then it gives off a beautiful, beautiful scent, you know. And that's like a response, because whatever it received was probably harsh, but what it's giving out is something refined, pure in its sense. And that's one thing that we should be able to do, you know, from our experiences and the things that people do. So if I find myself in a position that is quite uncomfortable, I always say, okay, Binga, don't react. Find the best response to this situation, right? Because responding truly brings healing, and causes that situation not to get the best of you. So I'm just really hoping that this episode was able to communicate the fact that God desires you to live above those things, right? The Bible says, forgetting what is behind and pressing towards what is ahead, right? I press towards the goal. Just forget those things. There's so much more in God. There is so much more in God. There is so much more for your future. There is so much more for your life. Remember this one thing, Tyla. God did not rescue you for you to build your life around recovery. Nah, please remember that. The same grace that rescued you, the same grace that saved you, is the same grace that is inviting you to a higher life. You are more than a survivor. You are more than a conqueror. You are more than a survivor. You are more than a conqueror. Never forget that. So yeah, I really do hope that this episode did bless you and it encouraged you, right? Please do well to share with other people, you know, and then also share your reviews with me, please. Let me know what you think about it, what you've learned, and even if you have like your own opposing thoughts on it and everything, right? So this is me signing out, Tyler. Remember that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always, always rooting for you. Bye.